Da, da, da.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Authoritas Tea Time SEO, where we encourage everyone to take a quick 15-minute break at 4 p.m. They can connect with others like us and learn something new. We've been running this series for about 4 weeks now, and we're very happy to have three great speakers here today. I'm SEO Joe Blogs growth marketer, and I'm joined here by Carrie Shepard, who's working in the marketing department too here at Authoritas.
Hi guys.
And Carrie's been emailing you the agendas for the week and some of the blog posts. So if you do want to have a chat, be one of our speakers, please get in touch with Carrie. And we'll be running this all through Tea Time, all through May, so you can appear on Tea Time SEO. Thank you very much to our speakers today. We have Azeem, Luke, and Daniel. They're going to be talking about SEO reporting and analytics. We've had Azeem and Luke on before, so really great to have them back. I will now pass over to Azeem to introduce himself, and then Luke and Daniel will, and then we'll have some top tips from everyone. Please add your questions to the chat, and we will be answering all of them at the end of the session. I'll pass over to you, Azeem.
Okay, hello everyone again. I'm Azeem, digital marketing manager. Like the bullet points say, I've been around for a few years. I started off at an agency. I was going to lie and say in-house, sorry. I started off at an agency, spent most of my first years in the industry there. That's where I cut my teeth. I'm now working in-house in the higher education sector for universities. I've spoken at a few conferences, as you can see from the slides there, including Brighton SEO and MeasureFest. And I'm a huge BAME advocate. So the fact that there are two people who are BAME on this talk is absolutely massive for me. And we agreed before this that we were going to do fun facts, but about each other. So Luke today, instead of being the marketing wizard that he is, has been a home cinema wizard, an usher, including the R&B artist. But I'll let him fill you in on that one. So yeah, that's me.
All right, awesome. Wow. Okay, so what do I do besides selling cinema tickets at high prices to children? I do SEO and e-commerce. Analytics is what I love, hence why I'm on this. Been in e-commerce a while. Been doing this thing for since I was 18 when I started selling stuff online on eBay, and I absolutely love it. So I'm now an e-commerce consultant. I work for clients, I work for agencies, and we make stuff happen. We sell more stuff, we help them out, we build new sites, we do a load of cool stuff. So SEO, conversion, and analytics is kind of my bread and butter, if you like. So yeah, that is me, Luke Carthy. And yeah, last but absolutely not least, the man with the floral wallpaper that I'm so envious of. It's Daniel. Go away, man. Introduce yourself.
Thank you, Luke. I knew this background would be fabulous. That's why I chose it. So, Daniel Smulevich, strong Italian accent. I work in Jellyfish. I look after the data analytics functions across a number of markets. And for me, it's always been about data, even from when I started in SEO, actually, just under 10 years ago. So it's all about getting value out of the data we collect every day for own, earn, and paid media. In terms of a fun fact, I guess I could say I actually started in the army, got kicked out for lack of respect of the rules. So it is all about thinking out of the box. Thinking it out of the box, guys. That's why the flora background.
That's F the police right there.
That's great. Well, thank you, Daniel. And I just want to give a quick welcome to everyone here in the chat: Sarah, Lawrence, Kirsten, Nestor, Andy, and Marco. And has everyone got their tea ready? I hope so.
I
tea
failed,
time?
man. Mine's in the kettle. Yeah.
I'm shamefully drinking water, but I have my espresso machine downstairs. Waiting for me.
That's fine. Well, I just wanted to say a fun fact is I know everyone's been sharing, of course, their photos of their mugs and cakes and things they've bought or baked. Carrie's been very busy baking some things. There was a nice banana bread shared today on the Authoritas Twitter account, and early this week some Cinnabons. So Carrie's been quite a little baker. Anyone else like to share their photos of tea, coffee, and cake? Please feel free to do that on Twitter. For now, I'll pass back over to Azeem to share his tips.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about cleaning up your data sets, especially during COVID-19. So this sort of came around. I asked something on Twitter a while ago about how you can cut out your internal traffic, especially now everybody's working from home. Previously, prior to everybody working from home, it was very simple. You just can do one of these three options on the screen there, use IP filters, you can use view filters or voluntary opt-outs, or you can have common page tagging. So today, excuse me, I'm going to run through three different options for you if you're working from home and need to cut out your internal traffic. And like I said, the purpose for this is so you don't sort of mess up your analytics data and skew some of your key KPIs by having some of your stuff in there. Especially if you're an ecom, for example, and you want to stress test your website, that's going to really mess up your numbers. So I'll kick off and I'll go on with option one. We can go on to the next slide, please. So here's your first option. You can do absolutely nothing. You can just accept that your stats are going to be messy, stick an annotation in GA for whenever your country, your respective country went into lockdown and then extended. Absolutely nothing wrong with this, by the way. Excuse me. But as everybody knows, things like year-on-year comparisons are going to be out the window, especially in a situation like this. So that's your first option. Just stick an annotation or two in GA and accept that things might not work. The second option is to get your staff to add browser extensions. There are various ones you can add, so I'm not going to advocate for one because several of them do the same thing. Sorry. Basically, all it is, you in Chrome, for example, you just stick a browser extension in and it will block your staff's visits to your websites. That's that. The third one, which is the one I'm a really big fan of and I want to push for, is for something called URL query parameters. So 5 minutes doesn't seem like a lot of time to go through this. So I'm going to quickly fly through this and then afterwards I will share with you a link to a step-by-step how-to guide to get it done. You need to be relatively experienced in Tag Manager, but I always say to everybody, if you know me, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Dead simple. You just create a new variable in GTM. Make sure it's got names that you can understand, like URL query internal. That's going to be really key because when you go back into GA, you'll need to add in a new user scope custom dimension, and you want to call that internal traffic. And it will give you an index number, so make sure that you remember that, because from GTM you go into GA and then you're going to go back into GTM Tag Manager. You want to edit your existing tag, include what you've just done there, add the index and the value for it as well. Once you've done that, if we go on to the next slide, then go back to your website or your client's website in preview mode. Don't add anything to the URL, just go back to the home page. Watch your GA tag fire in preview mode. The custom dimension, when you do nothing and just go to the home page as is, it should show as undefined. That's good. That's what you want to see. Then go back and add in either question mark internal equals true or and internal equals true. Reload the page. In preview mode in Tag Manager, what you should see then is that it will pick up the true string and send that information into GA. Really, really useful tip there. So if we move on to the next slide, I've just run you through three different options there for how you can cut out your internal traffic. Amazing for whether you're a small business or whether you're a large business. If you really want to get your metrics right and your numbers right in GA, go with either one of these options and you'll see more sort of crystal clear, like true results. But I'm a big advocate of query parameters because it's immense. But if you've got any questions about it, I'm happy to answer it at the end. But yeah, that's me, and I'll pass over to Daniel now.
Hi guys, hope you can hear me all right. So couple of things. So 5 tips. Actually 4 about Google Analytics and 1 that isn't necessarily Google Analytics. But very first one, very important, is around setting up custom alerts. If you are like me, you may be looking after hundreds of properties or views at a very bare minimum, or even tens. And you may want to set up a custom alert for organic performance. It is very easy to do it in GA. and you can be notified for a specific increase or decrease in your organic traffic. You can even be quite smart with segments in your customer alerts to also look at particular sections of the site of the application. Very interesting as well. Some of you may know about Google Analytics App Plus Web. That's a new beta, which has been released by Google. It's the new version of Google Analytics. There is built-in anomaly detection. Very cool. Please do try it out. It actually has a lot more than biased traditional 5-10% rules. Improving rankings is not only often around looking at getting our pages to be obviously indexed, ranking well, but it is also around how they are performing. And we want to look at the reports in GA to understand performance and conversion rates. Search Console reports within GA, it is a hygiene factor, get them linked so you can see the the search queries against the micro conversion on the site as well. And again, bonus tip, I would say you can add content engagement tracking. We do a lot of that to actually be able to understand visitor reading behavior, monitor content consumption over time. Very important to get an understanding of what really works, what doesn't. From an internal point of view, you want to look at site search tracking. I find that to be a gold mine of information. Especially many people don't really look at the long tail of internal site search, why you can really understand what people are looking for and produce content accordingly. In some cases where we have hundreds of thousands or millions of internal site search queries, we use natural language processing APIs to actually be able to cluster, to identify entities, topics across of those queries. Incredibly powerful. I noticed it specifically for content and in e-commerce sites. And again, from a multi-channel point of view, it's important to remember that when we look at GA, we tend to look at reports where we are looking at last non-direct click attribution. But more than ever, again, cookie windows permitting, you all know about the effects of ITP and ETP. More than ever, we look at longer user journeys. We want to make sure the organic gets the fair value, and we can look at the multi-channel funnel reports to understand effectively what impact it had and get a better view on what should be prioritized from an optimization point of view. And, we don't live on only Google Analytics. If I was to take just one example, please, and here the text is very small, I'm sure if you can see, but for me, it is always very important to look at paid and organic in conjunction. You probably know in Google Ads, you have reports where you can see your search and paid performance on specific queries you're targeting, actively targeting. But I would encourage you to do something, for instance, we did, which is we look at the data from Search Console and Google Ads or SA360 to understand what are queries, keywords, coupling, and identify your opportunities, aka you may be ranking really well on this query. You may want to invest your paid performance, if you have a limited budget, your paid budget on other queries. Again, very easy to apply any additional insight to that through topic detection and so on that we mentioned earlier.
Awesome. Well, I've learned a lot already, and I'm on this presentation, so that's really good stuff, gents. Especially that thing with the plugin, the browser extension thing. I didn't know that, Azeem, so thank you very much, man, for sharing that. That's pretty cool. All right, so some tips for you. Naturally, e-commerce bias, because that's where I live, breathe, eat, and sleep. So mega menu clicks. This is a really important one, and the reason why is because it allows brands and retailers to really understand what particular items are getting attention and what particular mega menu items are not. So I've only got a few minutes, and I'd love to talk to you about how you can go away and measure it, but there's loads of resources on the internet. You've got nothing but time right now. We're in lockdown, right? So go away and take a look. But absolutely measure these, because there's a very distinct difference between page views and, of course, clicks in the mega menu. You might find a page that has thousands upon thousands of page views each month, but very little engagement in the mega menu. And then you can understand whether you should replace it with something else, or if something is really popular, but it's not necessarily particularly visible in the mega menu, you can put it somewhere else, make it clearer, add it somewhere else, make it happen. So first thing to do is navigation is quite a pivotal part of e-commerce. absolutely something you should go away and measure in Google Analytics when it comes to e-commerce. Now, check your queries. All right, check your internal search queries. This is a really important one. Super. There's loads and loads of gold in no results found. We know this, right? So I've explained this example before in a previous tea time, but I'm explaining it again with a different context because it's not SEO, it's analytics this time, but it's super, super important. So, you know, check your top 1,000, 100, or even 10,000, depending on how big or small your site is or how many people use your search, and do it for opportunities, you know, see what's going on in there. Because, you know, coronavirus was not a thing like 6 weeks ago. Well, it actually was, but you know what I mean? 3 months ago, it wasn't a thing. And now it's all everyone can ever think about. So it's a big deal. Things change, things come in, new products launch, old ones go. Perfect example, Holland & Barrett. Now, this one is super ironic. One of the UK's largest online retailers of healthcare, and they have stores as well. You search for coronavirus at this time when I took this screenshot. Unfortunately, we don't have anything that matches your search, which is massively ironic because they have loads of stuff. They have hand sanitizers and, you know, pain relief and stuff. That's not necessarily going to be a cure, but can help the symptoms and help prevent the spread. So, you know, it's really important to take a look at these search terms on a frequent basis, and you can do that in GA. For sure. This one I love, and I have had some really good success. I did a whole presentation on this for a number of places this year and last year about capturing our messages. And in e-commerce, this is huge, right? So you may find this a perfect example. And this is one I just made up. Okay, so if you can read that small text, it might make you chuckle. Hoping to give you a bit of a lockdown laugh if I can. So point is, error messages are a thing, and they can cost you money. So by tracking them in Google Analytics and attributing, you know, conversion rate performance, or even not conversion rate and abandonment, that's really powerful. So you can use a custom dimension in Google Analytics to track your error messages and take advantage of it. Make it. So to give you an idea of how that would look, some really kind of boring code, but just to kind of give you an idea of how simple it is on the website side of things. There's still some GTM stuff on the other side. But, you know, data layer.push, event, and then whatever your event is called, that's your trigger. And then the error, which is your custom dimension, and the message you want to pass to it. So, yeah, you know, send some stuff across to it, embrace it. And these are the sort of things that Google Analytics doesn't do out of the box. So think about the things you want to measure and embrace that stuff. Monitor stock levels. So if you work in-house, Azeem, I'm sure you can relate. People who are listening, I'm sure you can relate. Even if it's agency, I'm sure you can relate. Can you explain to me, this is the phone, you know, can you explain to me why sales of product X are down by 50% this month? Well, actually, you know what? You've been working hard, you've been grafting on SEO for this particular product or category, but that's not the problem. The problem is not the SEO. The problem is the fact that this item is not in stock. It doesn't matter how good or how bad the SEO is on that particular item. If there is no stock, you can't sell it. So my point here is you can kind of mitigate being, you know, on the receiving end of the blame game by saying the SEO is a problem on this particular product. Actually, the SEO is not bad. It could be better, but there's no stock. I can't help you. And that would allow you to understand whether your revenue is up or down based upon the stock. And again, using a custom dimension here, you can absolutely embrace this. And it really helps you to understand the broader picture at any particular time in a calendar in Google Analytics. So finally, 404s. Check your 404s. And again, I've mentioned this before, but it's so important, and not enough people do this in Google Analytics. Now, when I say 404s, I am not talking about Search Console. Okay, I'm just not, because that's the typical go-to, right? Is Search Console. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about measuring your Google Analytics in Google Analytics specifically. So Google Search Console prioritizes 404s by SEO impact in terms of the number of times in the site or how many backlinks have been pointing to this 404. That helps from an SEO point of view, but from a conversion point of view, from a UX point of view, you know, you want to switch it up. You want to make things different. And I don't make it easy for the guys here because there's so many slides and I've just got to click all the time. So I'm so sorry. But what you want to do here is review by page views. So it's not necessarily the SEO impacts that you want to be reviewing right here. You want to be reviewing the impact by how many people are seeing these 404 errors. They could be an old product that you no longer sell that you switched off. They could be an email that someone sent out. And we've seen it before. We've seen it. We know it happens. We get emails. The product says page hasn't gone live. And then it's like, okay, awkward. At least now you have some stats. So one way you can do it, and it's not always the case, but it can work, is Google Analytics out of the box captures the page title. So if you have a static page title for a 404 page, or a bit of text that's always there in a 404 page, like in this example here, you can absolutely build a custom report to do that. 404, go away and knock that up. So all of a sudden you have data almost immediately in terms of which 404 errors are getting the most amount of traffic. So you can prioritize by traffic impact and how many people are seeing these problems versus the SEO impact. And in the world of e-commerce, UX is probably going to bleed more cash than SEO on the immediate front of things. So it's absolutely spot on to get that right. And even the birds agree with me, man. Like, come on, it's the real deal. That is all I have. I don't even know how long I've been on the mic. What is time anymore? I don't know. But yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That was so great. So many tips and so many things I learned as well from Azeem and Daniel too. We've got a few questions to ask you. And yeah, Andy's also said he likes the sound of your birds tweeting. And yeah, that's one of the impacts really of this virus. I can hear them a lot more now. I think they've come back to the city. So I'll hand over to Carrie because we've got quite a few questions. And thank you very much.
Great, thank you. So we have a question for Daniel. Can you explain a bit more about how you are using natural language processing and the AdWords Keyword Planner API, and how this benefits your PPC and SEO team?
Sure. Some two contexts in which I mentioned the natural language API. But in short, we tend to use it when we have a large volume of queries, whether are paid against search queries or on site, to actually understand intent, right? So I'm going to start from how we use the Keyword Planner API, because I think you're referring to the point of saving money in PPC. How do we use it? We look at effectively what is our ranking and versus clicks and traffic. So consider traffic from your website, ranking for specific keywords, clicks from the ad for that keyword, to identify where we may or may not place the PPC budget. So the Keyword Planner API is where we come from to understand also volume, if that makes sense, of those specific queries. Now, where does NLP come into place in this particular product? It is topic detection. So there is a long tail of keywords. How do we categorize them? You may know that the Google Cloud NLP API, which you can go and demo, if you Google it, there should be a demo there. It is really good at identifying intent, sentiment on long sentences. It is pretty, pardon my French, crap on actually very small sentences. So in that case, you may use a model you sentence cast natural technique.
Oh, I think Daniel, we're having.
Google found out he was giving away some absolute gold, so
they killed it. His machine started doing cloud backups or something.
Or maybe the birds have decided to go onto the internet cables and eat them. Okay. You're back.
There you go. The joys of town internet.
Uh-oh.
Sense to get there to get keyword for Google Ads or Search Ads API, understand all the PPC data, GA API, and web page performance, page traffic, and again NLP financial.
Yeah, I got that. Anyone else?
I think you can contact Daniel on him.
Yeah.
in afterwards. We will be tagging all the speakers and also on Twitter, please, as well.
Very to send you one pager in that.
You read your mind. One pager. Awesome.
Okay, great. So we have a question for Azeem. What impact did you see filtering out some internal traffic? So were there some companies, that had so much internal traffic that they were not aware of that they got rid of by doing that?
Yeah, massively, especially where we are now. So I'm at a university now, so there are quite a few of us that work there. Ever since we all got sent to work from home, the first thing that I thought of was like, right, I need to sort this out, because business still had to carry on, but I wasn't able to be confident in the data that I was getting. Because I knew staff, for example, the website team would constantly be on the website. That's their job, right? Other staff would be looking at their profiles, for example, looking at their course pages, the subject pages, virtual open days. Basically, everyone in every department would be on that website. So I can't give you exact numbers, but it was a huge amount of sessions to the website. So what I did was, anyone in GA who knows GA or who even has a beta account will have many different views and properties to test things out. So in one of them, I implemented this and had a look at one of our key KPIs, where I didn't exclude internal traffic, and I did exclude internal traffic. Really hard to say that. And there was a very noticeable difference, very noticeable difference. And it's really handy when you're doing presentations or reports, especially for the C-suite higher up, to say, look, this is the impact that our staff traffic has. We could have reported this and this was good, but we're actually reporting this and this is better. So there's definitely a noticeable difference when you do that. 100%. Takes a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth it, and I can't advocate for it enough.
Do you know what? I love that, man, because like just thinking out loud here, but like remarketing and stuff, I wonder how much of people's remarketing budgets has been spent purely advertising to their own people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really powerful, man. I really like that. Actually, I'm kind of secretly taking notes. So yeah, this is going to be a thing. I'm going to hit you up about this, Azeem. This is awesome, man.
Yeah, no worries. I think the original problem before everybody got sent home was that internal staff would keep clicking PPC ads, which was a nightmare. And the worst part about it was, especially people in the same office were like, well, I haven't clicked it, but the link is sort of grayed out as if to say, well, you've clicked that. So that was the original problem. Now this is another problem, but it keeps you on your toes. Hey,
I hear you.
That's really useful. Thank you. We have a question for Luke. Would you recommend building a dedicated Data Studio dashboard for internal site search? If so, what metrics would you recommend to display?
Okay, good question. To answer that, hell yes. Big time. Like, everyone should get a copy of that who has any kind of fingers on anything to do with the digital product. So even the C-suite can get a slice of this, because it's powerful, it's insightful, it helps you to kind of leverage and get higher priority. You know, if you can prove a case to say that, hey, look, I know you prioritize this month, but we've got like 1,000% increase in people searching for this, and our results are terrible. But in terms of KPIs, there's one which isn't technically a KPI, it's another custom dimension, and that is no results found. So it's great to have the number of unique searches, the number of total searches, and all this kind of cool stuff. But what really helps is to identify what particular searches fired no results or few results. So that way you can identify if there's a high number of people searching and a low number of results returned, then you have a potential problem or a potential opportunity for growth. But your typical KPI is really here. So you kind of think of like assisted conversion, you're thinking exit rate, because that kind of indicates if people are searching for something and they can't find what they want, they might leave. Average time on site. But anything that kind of attracts to your normal, typical KPIs that you adhere to in the world of e-commerce. But even if you're not in e-commerce, like, there's some really powerful stuff in here. So it could even be goals. If you use GA just to trigger goals or leads or something like that, or events, then absolutely put that in there. But a dashboard can be as comprehensive or as top level as you want. But I would personally say to build two, or have one report with 2 pages. One is for your internal use, and I mean that in terms of like your internal team, your product teams, your fellow co-workers in digital. And then you've kind of got another one which is simplified for for the board, for the decision makers, for the stakeholders, for the C-suite. And this is mainly going to be, do you know what? Let's take out all this granular crap that you don't really care about, and let's focus on the stuff that's going to get me what I want, which is, okay, we've got a problem here. This is how it's impacting us, and this is how we should go and fix it. Just those three top level kind of areas is the two things you want. It's helped me indefinitely. A specific example in this is it helped me to justify spending a decent amount of cash on a new internal search engine for the client I work for, because it was a constant argument about, you know, IT was saying we don't need it, it's perfectly fine, it's fast, and then actually proving that from a UX and conversion point of view, it's an absolute nightmare. So by knocking up a dashboard like that, within literally about a week, I got sign off to say, hey, do you know what? Go away and spend some cash. I can see the problem, and it needs fixing. So yeah, I hope that helps.
That's really useful, thank you. Daniel, I just wanted to confirm what you were saying earlier. So Lawrence was asking, Google Cloud NPL API good at identifying sentiment in long sentences, but rubbish at long sentences. Useful for summarizing topics or clusters.
So slightly different. So let me rephrase it. So Google Cloud, as many other providers, have a set of natural language APIs. The default one from Cloud, called Natural Language API, I think that's the actual name, it is pretty good in long sentences. You can get syntax, you can get entity detection, you can get sentiment, but doesn't work that great on very short sentences. Your on-site search or your search queries are all really short. We're talking 2-3 words usually. Now, what that means is from Cloud, you can use AutoML natural language, which is a custom NLP API you can build on, or you can train another model from Microsoft called Luis, for instance, which is an application where you can extract the data. Why? Because what is your main problem on short sentences? Brand, for instance, you want to isolate brand. You may want to know whether people are searching for modifiers that are either a color or maybe a size. And you want to be able to detect that this particular keyword has color plus brand name or color plus product or plural and so on. On short sentences, you're not really interested in sentiment or topic detection, when topic detection is so generic that tells you hoodie, or so it doesn't really matter to you. That's what the API will give you. Now, if I'm matching the PPC and the SEO data, what it is that I'm just trying to do with or without NLP API. I use the NLP API in different contexts. Usually also to do consumer research, for instance, even on outside of merchant-centered data. It's brilliant. But why am I trying to match PPC and SEO? I want to get a view of performance. At the end of the day, the SERP is the same, right? Obviously, we know ads different from organic and so on. But at the end of the day, you're competing for the same space. Granted that there are different visual cues to where you may click or not, but you want to have a view of how am I doing in spending on a particular SERP and query from a paid point of view alongside the SEO organic point of view. So in a world of limited budget, I decide where to focus my effort. For instance, if I'm not ranking really well, I'm going to up my spend here and probably relax that spend on that term and divest and invest it somewhere else if I can. So what we do, we take Search Console data, Google Ads, SA360 data, all in one place in BigQuery, ideally also integrated with your GA, so you can get a view on performance, not just on space. So you can see all in one place, cost versus clicks, whether organic or paid. Simple as that. Then if you're like me and you hate going through thousands and thousands of queries, especially your long tail, and you're trying to identify these opportunities for better categorization of your ad groups or better negatives or more content, then you'd use the NLP API to scan and get a view of what on earth is happening out of those hundreds of thousands. I was looking at an account yesterday, 3 million rows. I didn't really want to go through all of them.
Thank you for clarifying. I think that's all we have time for today, but we should be having this on our blog for all of you guys to watch and come back to for the tips. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone. And thanks also Azeem and Luke for coming back again, and Daniel for all those details. But they all can be reached on Twitter and LinkedIn. We'll be tagging them. But tune in tomorrow when we have actually Jason Barnard will be hosting. We'll just be helping with some of the slides. He'll be hosting and being on the panel with Dixon and Andrea. And they're going to be talking about knowledge graphs and panels. So we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.